Hello and welcome to episode 1 of SandMan Interviews, a new interview series where I go out and have a chat to some of the guys and girls who have been involved with Australian esports for a little while now. We'll get a bit of their background, perhaps a few interesting stories, clear up a little bit perhaps of their history, and find out what they think about the future of Australian esports. So to start off, we're going to begin with Counter-Strike, and to be honest, I can think of nothing better. A game that's been around for so very, very long and is again finding its way and really coming out as a peak esports game within Australia and around the world. To begin with, we're going to have a chat with Iain SnypeR Turner from Team Immunity. Of course, he was the in-game leader and captain up until a week or so ago where we found out he's now moving over as their coach. Now, this interview was conducted a day or two after Team Immunity had made their roster announcement. Again, we'll get a little bit of Iain's background, and there is quite a bit in there about roster changes and things that have occurred with him throughout his lifetime in Counter-Strike. So I genuinely hope you find it enjoyable. Now, this interview does go for about 90 minutes or so, and it is cut down from the 2 hours and 40 minutes that Iain was kind enough to give me about a week or so ago. So I genuinely hope you enjoy it. If you do have any feedback, of course, feel free to let me know. And without anything further, let's get into it. When did you start playing Counter-Strike?
A really long time ago. I came into the game coming from another game called Rogue Spear. Tom Clancy's Rogue Spear.
So
yeah,
it was obviously the shooter Rainbow Six. Can't go wrong with Rainbow Six. I think back in the day, Tom Clancy games were all the rage, and I think they're back again now. So
yeah, basically, come full circle.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
I could jump on Shield and be the best. I was on the MSN gaming zone, and I was probably only 14. I think I used to lie to people about how old I was in this game. Yeah. And I was in this clan called the Saints, and we were pretty much the best in Oceania, whatever, because there was the MSN gaming zone, and we were the best there. And then there was this other thing called the M-Player, and there were people who were the best there. And we never even knew about those, but we were the best on our like gaming lobby thing.
Yeah. You're the best of the people you knew, like when you're in school and you play inter-school sports and you're the best team. But you haven't actually played outside like your town sort of thing.
Yeah, like being the best in Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
But so we were pretty good. And then all my friends, they were like 16, 17, and they started going to LANs and stuff. And the LANs were for Counter-Strike, and this is Counter-Strike when it was in its like early days. And it was version 6.5 or 7.1 or something. Like they'd just removed the scope off the Colt and stuff like that.
When we discussed a couple of weeks ago, I said I want to do a bit of your background. You linked me to a list of stuff you'd done, and now I copy pasted this into Word, and it takes up 2.5 pages just of finishes at LAN, I guess. And
yes,
is that what it is? It's just
some are at LAN. In fact, most of them are at LAN. Yeah.
First thing in the timeline is second. I assume the team is Plus V at WCG Perth, September 2003.
Yep.
So it's like 13 years ago. Well, 12 and a half. Yeah. Like
that's so long ago. That's actually the year I left school.
You left school in 2003.
Yeah.
All right. So you must be like either 30-ish. How old are you?
I'm 29.
29. I wasn't
sure.
So
I'm not out of it yet, right?
Not out of it yet. Yeah. Exactly. But 1 year behind me. It's all downhill from 30. Yeah.
D-Day is this year.
Yeah. So I don't even know. I don't know any of these names. There's like Trance, Refunda, Naruto. Is it AOI? What's his?
AOI was his name.
There we go.
That was just his name.
And Captain SnypeR with a Y instead of an I. Where did that come from? Any sniper was taken? Yeah.
So that happened when that was in the Rogue Spear days. So before that I'd gone through a Wu-Tang phase. This might be really hard to believe, but there was a Wu-Tang Clan phase there from my brother hired it on console, and Wu-Tang Clan was like the funnest game. And so my name was Inspector X, but spelt with a capital letter lowercase.
Yep.
And Tar is in Expect Tar, T-A-H, and all this bad stuff.
What do you even do in this Wu-Tang Clan game? Did you say?
Yeah.
What do you even do? Make bad music and get in fights and stuff?
Yeah,
or-
it was a fighting game. It was
Yeah.
like
Okay.
And I got in this team, this American team called Unknown, and they said to me, or Unknown, however you want to pronounce it, they said to me, "Oh, look, your name is horrible.
Yeah.
Like your name is really bad. You should think about getting a new name."
I think we need some of that these days, to be perfectly honest. I think
I
think you
so.
need to like register your name and just you need someone there just to go, you know what? That's a really terrible name. Like it's just bad.
I think there should be like a name council or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the public works sometimes with names like Device and changing to Devi, and everyone was like, "No, you don't."
Yep. Didn't like it.
No, that didn't happen. So he's back to using Device now.
So of these people, do any of them still play anything?
No.
Are you in contact with anyone from Plus
Yep.
V? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in contact with just about all of them, except Naruto and AOI. They were like Asian uni students that probably got deported or something. It was that bad back
Well,
then.
uni students in Perth, were these all Perth guys?
Yeah, all Perth, because
Yeah.
it was all land back then.
Yeah. So your 1.6 days ended up, says you retired February 2009. That sound right?
Yeah.
You wrote
Yep.
it, right? So
That's that. Yep.
yeah,
Sounds
so
good.
so it's probably true. All right, so we move on to onto Source. Did you like Source as a game?
At the end, I did. Yeah, I thought it was tops. But when I first went across, it was shit.
Yeah.
Like, it was bad. And the other thing was like, everyone that played it was bad as well. It was like an amateur division in another game.
Yeah, okay. Is it just because they moved on and people stayed behind, sort of thing? You split it?
These were like the kids who weren't going to lands in 1.6 were going to CSGO straight away because they were winning.
Yeah.
It was like if League of Legends 2 came out and no one changed across to League of Legends 2,
Yeah.
that was good. All the kids that couldn't play League of Legends 1 would go across and be the best because all these new people would be coming to League of Legends 2 had never even played League of Legends before.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was pretty much that. And so when I came across the Source, I felt like I was instantly one of the best players in Australia just because I had 1.6 background.
The one thing that I notice, interestingly enough, through all of these teams up until Team Immunity CSS, is that you're the captain.
Yeah.
Is that essentially how it's pretty much always been?
Yeah, I've always been the in-game leader or the captain of some team.
Is that do you like the role? Do people sort of defer to you with it? Like, does it come naturally? What's the?
I think people just didn't want to have responsibility.
Yeah.
And people just wanted to shoot stuff.
Yeah.
So it just always fell on me, and I was happy to do it. I guess it's not like I was always happy to do it. The only time I wasn't a captain is in the DNA.com lineup.
Yep.
I was like the guy. See, the thing with being a captain is it's not always the right person. And in DNA.com, I was the captain, but Ferg was the in-game leader.
Okay.
And it was because I had made the lineup. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Is there a benefit to running it that way at all, or is it a negative?
I think in this case, like, it had to be that way because Ferg and I were strong personalities. And if we just gave all the power to one of us, then shit would have got bad. Like, we were trying real hard to be professional back then.
Yeah.
So we were just divvying up responsibility. No one had the power to make people do things they didn't want to do, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it worked out great in DNA. But sometimes the guy who makes the team is the captain, and that's because the org has essentially gone to them and said, make a team.
Yeah, okay.
And
That's
so
fine.
they have all the power. They can say they want this person, yada, yada.
You're essentially your captain all the way up until, as I said, playing in Team Immunity, Spunj, MoECQ, Havok, Zoltan, and yourself. Havok being the captain. It's interesting. How did that go?
Yeah, so Havok made the lineup. That's an example there, where that Havok got Team Immunity. So we came into Team Immunity, myself, Zoltan, and basically Luke made that lineup because of our success in sequential.
Wait.
Yeah, this Immunity is the one that basically transitioned into CSGO.
Okay.
When basically there was the last ever Source Nats, which we came second at.
Who'd
and
you
that was
lose to?
We lost to Booms as Vox Eminor,
Ah,
and that was like their first Nats win. And we bombed out of that pretty bad, actually. Third, fourth, I've got written there. So that was the last ever Source Nats.
1.6 and Source. Did you think you would move to CSGO when it was announced?
Yeah, straight away. We were one of the pioneers for that, because as soon as the last Source Nats happened, which is 2012, Boomzer was saying that he was going to retire and stuff, and it came down to basically Boomzer wanted to get Havok out of Team Immunity, and I said to Havok, look, if you don't leave, because he was going to leave, and then Vox for the start of CSGO could have been a completely different lineup. And I said to Luke, look, if you leave, I'll hunt you down basically, and I'll beat you. and I said also on the flip side of that, if Boomzer does just quit, because he was getting long in the tooth, and he was like, he had life stuff going on as well. And
he's been back a little late recently, hasn't he? He's been sort of getting
into the business side of things. Yep.
I think to be fair, he got pretty excited over Dirty Bomb for for whatever reason that may be. He was
that could have gone somewhere.
I think they almost released it too early, like or people pushed it too early, like competition when there was no anti-cheat, running comps for money and stuff like that, and there was just no way to know if someone's cheating, and it was just not ideal. We'll go back to cheating a little bit later.
Well, yeah. So basically, I said to Luke, if you don't join this team, their Boomzer will quit, and then Vox Eminor will be no more.
Yeah.
So, and I said, and when that happens, we could probably pick up the guy we want, which is Top Gun and Azza.
Yeah.
And so Luke decided to stay with me and Chad, and we picked up Azza and Top Gun as a combo, as like a package deal for the start of CSGO. And then I guess the rest is history. So the other thing is, after that, is when we picked up Azza and Top Gun, they wanted to stay with Vox Eminor.
Yeah.
Azza Org and Richard. And we were like, well, okay. So we just came across. We left Team Immunity and we went to Vox Eminor.
What's your view on Talnoy, on Richard?
In terms of what?
Just in general. Like, I like Talnoy, but I've only dealt with Talnoy within the realms of CGPL.
Yeah, Richard
was as an owner of an org, as a someone to work under.
Yeah, he was a good guy. There's not much else. There's nothing bad you could say about him. He was just doing whatever he thought was right at all times, I guess, which is pretty cool.
I think Counter-Strike in Australia certainly owes him a lot in regards to what he did with Cybergamer for the time he did it.
Yeah, because I mean, Cybergamer's like Asterix's thing.
Yeah.
And Richard just came in and took it over almost for CSGO.
Yeah.
And made it something. And before that, it was nothing really.
Do you think he did it for his team? So the impression I got was that he wanted to create an environment where his team could play competitively and get an opportunity to do things. Would you agree with that, or am I missing something?
Yeah, I would agree with that. So basically, everything Richard did at the time was for CSGO, and then because Vox Eminor was his baby as well, he was making sure that we got opportunities, and so he made that happen by making CG something good.
Well, you can't get qualifiers to events if you don't have something reasonable to qualify from, right? Like
Exactly. Yeah. And so he was like doing everything he could to make CSGO something, and then also that benefited him in a way, I guess, that he had this organization that had something to do. I think it was just like something for him to do, and one thing helped out the other thing. So the CSGO team didn't need much management if it wasn't going to LAN. Yeah. So he made LANs. It was good.
No, it's good. It's without it, I think I don't know what the country would be like in terms of. I'm not saying that we're in an amazing spot for CSGO or for Counter-Strike, but
I think without Richard, we would be as far back as Asia is now behind us.
So you're in Vox Eminor as a top gun, Havok, Spunj as captain, and yourself. So what was your role in that team? Were you still calling?
No, I'd given up calling at that point.
Okay.
So it actually all revolves around me getting my wisdom teeth taken out.
Yeah. That's probably a good idea, by the way, because mine suck. Do not get to 30 and still have wisdom teeth. It is the worst decision you'll ever make.
Yeah, so something happened there. So basically there was some tensions in the team. We were still winning everything. But I think it was kind of like I would call something and it wasn't good enough for a while.
Yep.
Like people just weren't happy with it. If it lost, it was my fault, not theirs, kind of thing. So I got my wisdom teeth taken out, and then I was also, so I couldn't talk, but we still had to practice and we still had to play because we had these tournaments like CG and stuff. And so I was just like, look, Chad, you just take over calling. You know, I can't talk right now. And Chad called for a couple of games, and the other guys liked it, so we decided to try it out for a while.
Yep.
And then it just stuck.
So
it's like when a caller doesn't call,
yeah,
they play a lot better, and it's just more fun. So I was like, whatever, that's great.
Have you been calling essentially, like, you've been calling in Immunity, obviously, since then, though? Like, in the times you're there? Yeah. Is that,
so
when you have a bad game, is it because you're calling, or is it, what is it? Does it actually make a drastic difference to you in terms of your play? Like, you're playing, especially in big games, I suppose, you're playing, like, VP, for example.
Yeah. Oh, see, nah. I don't think it makes a big difference. I think what makes it, like, I don't think, that guy's calling, he's going to be have bad stats. I don't think that's true at all. I think a caller can still have reasonable stats, like, it still have a 1-1 stat, 1-1 kill death ratio.
Yeah.
Where basically you kill everyone you see, but then you get traded. That's like a 1-1 KD ratio.
Yeah.
And I think that's acceptable for a caller because the caller's not always in the position they want to be in. Their job is make the other 4 guys happy.
Yeah.
Like, in my view, like, that's how it is.
Do you see the role of someone like a coach in a LAN situation standing behind you?
Mm-hmm.
Can they do that? Is it better? Do you think that's better?
I think that's better.
If it's better, right? It's better if it's better, if they're better for it.
I think the in-game leader if you remove the in-game leader, then you've got 5 players.
Yeah.
And 5 people in roles that they like around the map. See, but there's only a few roles around the map, and so there will be there's room for that in-game leader role, but it just won't be there. So it'll be just one guy's, like, it won't be one guy's problem, whereas right now it is. So you'll make it someone else's problem to do the stuff that the in-game leader will do, but it'll be a different guy every round or a different guy every strat.
Okay.
So
I guess, like, you still need someone, I suppose, to sort of write, I'm going this way, sort of follow me, or, you know, like, you still need someone to make a decision, like, on their own actions, I suppose. So you're in Vox Eminor, and then you're not in Vox Eminor.
Yep.
So I wasn't involved in the scene very much. Like, for me, coming to Counter-Strike, I think I came to CGPL at ATP, and I was doing a little bit of intros, and I was doing some interviews, and it was a big thing because you were playing against Vox. So what happened for you to leave Vox?
So I don't really know because I just was removed, basically.
Okay. So they obviously, I'm assuming they brought in JKS at that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so what happened was we had just come second for the first time ever or something.
Yeah, it's hard. I remember. Yeah. It's like, I remember playing school football. There was, like, I was like under 7s, and the under 6s were the same age as me, but they were born like 2 months later, right? And they won every game of their league, like, for 2 years straight. And then one year they changed the rules and everyone played in the same league. They lost their first game. They just all cried. They just could not deal with it at all.
It's tough, isn't it? Like, what did they come second?
No, we got rolled. To be fair, we actually got rolled because it was like they were all these good kids and they're playing. I don't know. Anyway,
the best. They were basically the Div 2 top team. And
then exactly. That's exactly right. I should have just said that. All right, so you'd come second for the.
It came second in an online tournament.
Yeah.
And that was to Ricky, actually. We lost to Trident, which was Ricky and James. So the writing was on the wall there. And yeah, the team was just falling apart internally. Like everyone was just having arguments about stuff. And I remember, we were saying, "Oh, we need to fix something, but we don't know what it is."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I can take over calling again. I should stop lurking so much because it's a bit obvious, and I should just do a different role." And some people didn't like that.
Yeah.
And there was also at the same time, like, I think my stats were arguably pretty bad for the online tournaments because it's WA internet, but I didn't have the excuse of being an in-game leader.
Yeah.
And I also was like a visionary. I wanted to change things completely about the way we played, and people just didn't like that. So all that happened was we had a break again because we had lost and it was Christmas and everything like that. And then we came back and we were playing some more, and I think results weren't good for the first part of the year.
Yeah.
And it's just because simply other teams started trying harder because CS was now a thing. Like, we had a whole year where no one really gave a shit about CSGO. And we were just wiping the floor with everyone because that's all we cared about. And that's how pretty much the MSI beta qualifiers came about, and we just smashed that. And it was because we were the only team that really cared a lot about CSGO. And everyone else was just playing it for fun. So we were a bit lucky in that respect. And then all of a sudden there was an international qualifier. So it's like, this never happened in 1.6 or so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, other teams were like, "Oh, international stuff, let's get on this." And they really put effort and time in. And we started, we weren't putting in enough time anymore. So we started losing. And all that happened is JKS had been in the other team. So the other team back then was Atletico.
The other team. Okay.
The other team.
How old was he then? 15, 16?
Well, I think we were asking ourselves, like, how old is this
Yeah.
kid? I think he was only 17 because Vox only picked him up when he was 18. So because they were making sure that he could go to other events.
So he's obviously older than I think he is.
So he was at least 18 or 19 at the time. Because I remember saying that I think we should get JKS when I was in Vox Eminor.
Yeah.
And Aaron was good friends with him. Gomez was good friends with him. And we played at ODC, not with him, but we played an ODC, like a mixed ODC. This is just before we were about to die. And we came first or second, and we all played really good. In fact, no, we came first in the first ODC. This is when there was like Vox Play thing, and there was like an ODC every week.
Yeah.
And we came first in one, and then the second one, Luke couldn't make it because he had it was Easter, and he had something on with his missus. So we decided that we weren't going to enter as a team. And so I basically had the week off as well. And over Easter, I found out that they played the Easter ODC with, it was Top Gun, Azza, Gomez, Spunj, and JKS.
Yeah. And did they win?
I think they won. But JKS played really, really well. He had like an amazing stat. I think you could probably find the stats somewhere.
Would you agree that he's the best player from Australia at the moment?
Nah, no way.
Who is?
It'd be up there between Azza or... it'd be Azza, him, or Ustillo.
Yep.
Well,
it helps to have them all, doesn't it?
So, yeah, you can't argue with that.
Yeah.
I think they're definitely one of the if not the top three players. And then just outside that, you've got Yam, Ricky, Emag, and James, and then I think Moe is pretty good.
Yeah.
Hit there as well. Yep. So pretty much all of Immunity and Renegades. But then you've got the, I don't know where to put Zeusy in there yet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
People put him in there somewhere, but I don't know whereabouts he fits yet. And then you've got the Legacy guys. Havok should be in there somewhere, but we've just seen him get smashed too many times.
Yeah. Do
everyone.
you agree with the concept that Yam and Havok sort of try and fill the same spot, and that was his downfall when Yam came on, or is it? Do you think it's something else?
I remember saying to Yam at ATP in the taxi when he was on the way back, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm leaving for Vox." I was like, "Why would you do that? Like, we're already beating them.
Yeah,
It's stupid." He probably knew about the international stuff or something. I don't know.
yeah. Well, that's a good point. Like, obviously, they've ended up overseas, irrespective of their results,
Uh,
right? They're living in reality. They're living the CS:GO dream, aren't they?
yeah,
Like, as
yeah,
far as
yeah.
Australians go, you go on to NA, you're playing these big events, you've got someone sponsoring you. Irrespective, I'm sure the results are pressing on them, but um,
Well, I mean, it
they're
was
there.
just, I couldn't understand it at the time. I was like, we're beating them. We're playing pretty good CS as a team. The team just worked perfectly. We had perfect roles. Everything was sorted out, and he was leaving. So I was pretty upset about that because it felt like we would have to restart, and we were already number one.
Yeah,
Like, I feel we were number one at that point, and for him to leave for number two, it's like, what are you doing?
but
And it was just,
what about the concept that the best team had Yam? So if Yam went to Vox Renegades,
yeah.
that they were then the best team.
They were good with Yam.
Yeah. Why?
then-
Because he was good? Because he was better than Havok? Because what?
I think he was better than Top Gun.
Okay.
I think it was just that. He was just better than Top Gun.
He played better than the guy he replaced. Essentially, you just
Yeah. Or
plus him
no,
on
not
it.
really played better because it's hard to just play better than Top Gun because he's just so good
Hmm.
talent wise. Like he's just got like raw mechanical talent, but team wise and knowledge wise of CS and how to play and doing if they watched a demo together, they'd be better off with Yam than
Okay.
they'd be better off with
So
Top
so the end result was better of having
Yeah.
Yam in the team.
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, there was no sign of this role clash in Australia because their raw skill was enough.
Yeah. Who told you that you were out? How did that occur?
Well, it was just after the Easter break. It was like the Tuesday after the public holiday. I was on
Yeah.
my way home from work, and it was just like 3 days of no one replying on Steam and stuff. So
Yeah. It's kind of like when you get broken up to with your high school girlfriend, sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah, like MSN just goes blank.
Yeah.
What the hell's
Did
this?
you? What's going on?
Where's the green man?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, I got messaged by Top Gun on Steam. I was on the train home, and I was like, "What's going on? Tell me." They're like, "Yeah, making a change." I was like, "Cool."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. So
Insert feelings here.
yeah. Well, exactly. Did you think that was coming as a?
Yeah, you always see it coming.
Yeah.
Because
You knew she was cheating on you, right? That was
Yeah, exactly right.
late. Wouldn't out late at night without you. I'm just going out with my friends. Yeah.
Well, it's like the distance grows
Yeah.
before separation. So you knew something was wrong, you didn't know what, and then all of a sudden it's like because these decisions don't just happen overnight. No one goes,
Yeah.
let's do it tomorrow. You delete it from Steam.
Yeah.
It's nothing like that. It's over time. Friendships form, and then basically you get blinded by a friendship, and then you don't look. I think they were blinded by friendship then. And they were certainly up until the point where they removed Havok, because I know they wouldn't have wanted to do that.
Yeah. And you think they kept, do you agree with Thorin when he says they kept him too long, or they kept someone too long? Like, I watched it. I watched it yesterday, and he essentially went through. I assume you've seen the video. Yeah. For anyone else, essentially he goes through and he says, if you look at all the top NA teams between time A and time B, over the last 12 months, they've all made changes except the ones that are winning. And Renegades essentially, perhaps he thought maybe they were making up excuses, maybe they were too close. He suggested perhaps
Well, I think for
were too
Renegades,
close.
the fact was just that they were winning here.
Yeah.
And they were saying that all along that domestic results didn't matter, but they were winning here. And that was proof to them that there was something right.
Yeah.
And then when they'd go over there, they'd just play tremendously bad sometimes. And they just didn't want to point fingers. They were like me in a sense. They just wanted to make the team better.
Yeah. Do you
But
think
it just wasn't working because they were I always thought they were the same person, Yam and Havok, the same role.
Yeah. So yeah, you agree in that sort of sense that they didn't necessarily fit within the same team structure? Do you
Yeah,
think
I
keeping
said
Yam is
Yam.
better than keeping
Nah,
Havok?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for the time being, just because Havok just hasn't been informed for so long.
Yeah.
Whether it's a clash of roles or whatnot. But the reason they picked up Yam was because when he was in Immunity, he was smashing. He was
Okay.
smashing at that role, the
Yeah.
roaming up, just go shoot stuff kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's no room for two people with the one role. I said to Yam when he was in the taxi with me, I said, like, what kind of role are you doing? Like, you can't be you because you're not Top Gun, and they'll want you to be Top Gun. And then I was like, well, and Havok can't really give up the AWP because I think Havok's one of the top AWPers. And if he's not AWPing, then he'll just be a rifler, and I don't know how that will work.
And I guess it kind of didn't work necessarily.
It didn't sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, they obviously could still play good. It just wasn't top tier. These guys want to be tier number one.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
they
it's
gotta make
different,
their own
aren't you?
moves.
You're overseas. Someone's paying for you to be there. It's like you've
Yeah.
given up your day-to-day life, your family and whatnot. So a lot of pressures as well, I suppose, on moving. But at the end of the day, you just got to play a computer game, right? Like you're there just to be good at that one thing. So
Well, that's what they wanted as well. Like, if I look back on it and I think, geez, I played this game all this time for free.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
what was I doing?
Yeah.
It was like a second job that I didn't get paid for.
Yeah.
And so these guys are actually getting paid for their second job, so they'd be loving it. I don't see what's so bad about it.
No, we'll get back to Renegades in a little bit.
When I was out of Vox, I made a team with who I thought would be good, which is like an up and coming, like, try and bring some kids in with my international knowledge. So it's like Mont, Ofnu, Lightstep, James, me.
Yeah.
And then
kids, not necessarily kiddish anymore.
No, but James was new. Ofnu was just up and coming, and so was everyone was talking about Mont. And then EMAG wanted to come back and I knew he was good from source days and everything. So I was like, okay, let's give him a chance. So I got him in instead of Lightstep. I think Lightstep was only a trial or something. I can't remember back that far, but it sounds right to me that he was there somewhere.
Yep.
And because we needed an AWPer, and then James wanted Rick really, really bad, so we got him as well. And by that time, Mont was gone for one. I think Mont was gone for EMAG, and then we got Rick for Lightstep. And we kept Ofnu, we played ODC, and we came second to someone. And that's when I was like, yeah, we got to... That's when Rick was like, nah, this team sucks.
Yeah, okay.
And I was like, well, look, if you can get Yam, because you guys played together in Athletico and whatever else. I said, if you can get Yam, then we should be able to get Immunity because, you and Yam are pretty much Tony's godchildren. So
had they had played in Immunity previously under a different thing? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, Yam is internationally 1.6 acclaimed from Immunity.
Okay, right.
And Rick was also in an Immunity 1.6 team.
Yeah.
Ustilo only came in after Yam left.
And you took him from
we took him from Streamline,
Yeah.
and it was really, really bad the way that all went down because I knew it was going down so much earlier than it did. And that was just because Ustilo refused to leave before playing LAN.
Okay.
I don't know whether it was pride or loyalty or whatever, but I mean, it was fine for him because he was saying that, look, I know you guys want me and I'll come, but I can't come 2 weeks before a LAN because my team will get wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, that's fine. Just means we have to play with Yam for 2 weeks knowing that he's leaving. Or I don't know how long we played with Yam knowing that he was leaving. It seemed like months. And we went to this LAN and we got smashed because I stopped.
We're talking CGPL Finals, right?
That's when Streamline beat us. It was CGPL. And we knew that Yam was leaving weeks before then. So we were looking for someone else. And I said, we should get Ustilo just because I just saw something in him that I thought he was good. And I think he was the number one stat on Unity or something, or IPGM Pugs or whatever it was back then.
Yeah.
And so he said yes, but he said after the LAN.
Okay.
And we were okay with that. Tony was okay with that because it's just, loyalty to the team and making sure you don't screw anyone over or dog anyone.
Yeah.
And so I just stopped all creative, like strategy, thinking, anything like that. Just we'll go with what we've got now and we'll just play. And in the end, that's what ended up doing us in, because we played Streamline on Dust 2 and Nuke or something, or Mirage, or Dust 2 and Mirage, and they ended up beating us in the finals.
I recall watching the game or casting the game or something or hosting it.
Yeah.
But Mirage is like your map, like that.
It was then,
yeah.
We were like the Mirage Kings, because we
Yeah.
had Ricky and we had Yam, and it was the double AWP combo on CT, and Emag and James had A on lockdown. And something just happened, like, because we knew Yam was leaving. It was like everyone hated him. So
is that the word, hated? Is that what it was?
Yeah, everyone resented the fact that he was leaving. Sure, he made friends with James in the end, and him and James keep talking, but everyone was really pissed with him because he basically was. It was like living with the enemy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So do you not talk to Yam anymore?
No, I don't talk to Yam.
Okay.
Yam and I, we were. Well, I thought we were friends when we were in the team, but as soon as he left the team, like, I found out we weren't friends.
You're not friends because he left. Is that? Yeah.
No, I think he just didn't like me.
Okay, right. Yeah. Just that wasn't clear to me. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess your history with the guys of now Renegades, like, if we have a look, it seems that you've got a constant back and forward with Spunj. Is that
on Twitter?
Yeah, or just in general, I suppose. But I guess it does come across in Twitter, because it's not like you're walking into him, in the lobby every day, sort of thing. It's
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, because we were always friends, and that never changed even after Vox, and we'd often be on the same flight to and from nationals.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Oh, he's a Perth boy, yeah.
Yeah. So we'd get the same flight to and from most of the time, and we'd talk all the time on the way back, and don't know.
It just seems like, okay, we have a look. I got a tweet here from Thor, and says, as far as I can tell, the Oz CSGO scene is basically the NA CSGO scene in 2014, replete with the same infighting. And then Spunj comes back. Think it is just community-wide dislike for SnypeR. Probably why he's being replaced from Immunity. Like that. Does he actually think that? Is he? Or is it just a sound bite? A Twitter bite, sort of?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know. I think some stuff is just going on for him that made him break. I don't know.
But do you still think of him as a friend?
Not after that. No way. Well, the things he said on Twitter was a joke. Like, I can't believe it.
What has he said? Something else that's what stands out for you as something that's come?
Oh, it was that mostly.
Yeah.
And the other things he was saying, like, he accused me of cheating at LAN, like, just ridiculous things, like things that I would never do.
And that's relative. I assume this must be like a recent thing, right? You guys, like, I remember. First, I need to thank you for the only time I'll ever be on the front page of Reddit. Yeah, exactly. The only time I'll get to the top of Reddit for Counter-Strike, the time you and Spunj having a handshake. Like, you seemed like it was good back and forward banner. I was terrible with I didn't even know how to do the veto properly. Like, but you're all happy. You all seem to get along. Handshake intentionally bad?
Yeah.
Okay, just clarifying.
I pulled away at the last minute, but I just went back in the same way I went in the first time, whereas Chad put his hand upside down and stuff, and we made a real show of it.
Yeah, it was great.
That was the thing. Like, bad handshakes was the thing back then. It was like, that's what you did.
It was good, and the community obviously loved it. Otherwise, wouldn't have got all them great.
So
Reddit.
You can see there that.
Well, that's what I mean, and that was.
And that was a long time after Azubu.
Yeah, exactly. That was when last year, obviously.
That was the ACL ESL
Sydney, ACL Sydney.
Yeah.
At Macquarie Uni, which would have been near the middle of the year.
It's in my little list.
It's in your list. There you go. I haven't even looked, so you must have it.
ACL Sydney qualifier Group B, May 2015.
There you go. So that was obviously, that's, I guess, like 9 or so months ago now, but at the time, like, the changes had been made, right? Yam was in
the team then.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what's
like I said, something must be causing him to go on an outburst like that. Simple as that. I haven't done anything to him.
Don't know. I guess How do you feel, or how did it feel being in Immunity and having Yam and then Ustillo taken? I guess you guys took Ustillo from a team, but
From Streamline, yeah, that felt bad, but it felt like we had no choice because they were taking Yam, and we had qualified for Faceit.
Yep.
So we were giving Ustillo the chance that Immunity's giving Moe right now, and Zusi.
Okay. Do you
gold ticket.
do you like the pickups that Immunity has made?
Yeah. Well, one of them was like my prime candidate, which is Moe.
Yep.
I was like, you got to get Moe to replace anyone. And they wanted Zusi, and I was like, I'm not sure about that. So, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Zusi do good stuff occasionally, but we'll see how he fits in.
Did it? I get you described Immunity as the RNG training camp.
Yep.
So who's next? Who are they going to take next?
They won't take anyone. They don't like anyone else. They could take James. If James became like a 2 rating player, they would take James.
Okay.
Probably. Only because he's friends with Yam. No one rates Chris for some reason in that team. Otherwise, they would have took Chris instead of Ustillo. I don't know why they don't rate Chris. Imagine, but it's clear that they don't. Chris will probably start to stand out now. You'll probably see Rick, Chris, and Moe at the top of the scoreboard in this new lineup.
Okay. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. If anyone, it will probably be James because they don't like Rick. Otherwise, they could have took Rick. So basically, they had the choice of the whole roster, and they took Ustillo.
Yeah.
So that means there's something going on for the other guys, and it's only Rick that I know they must not like him because he's just so good.
Yeah.
That they just must not like him for them not to pick him up.
I guess personality is you need to get along. Well, I guess you don't need to get along.
I don't.
Yeah, you disagree?
Yeah, I don't think you ever need to get along.
Okay.
I think you're just playing a game. Like if you're playing a soccer team or something, you don't need to get along with the other guy.
It's true.
It's like your coach could be a guy that yells at you and says you're shit. It doesn't matter. You're still playing soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to be best friends with the coach. You just have to do a good job on the field.
That's true. It is true. I guess it's more so when you're not a professional. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like it comes back to that, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. If in Australia, no one here is getting a salary, so no one here needs to be like that.
Yeah. Okay.
You probably should just play for fun in Australia.
Yeah.
Unless you're getting a salary, in which case you should have teams where literally your enemy is on the same team.
Yeah. The five best guys that can.
Yeah.
Guys and girls even that can fit together. So, all right. So Immunity's got a new lineup. Zuzi got Moe. You said you're quite a fan of Moe.
Yeah.
What about you? Why aren't you playing for Immunity anymore?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've enjoyed the time off, and I'm open to ideas. And the idea came forward that I'd be the coach, and I thought, well, see how it goes.
So, are you actually the coach? This isn't like we've dropped SnypeR, he's still under contract, we'll put him as coach for the moment, and we'll change it up later?
Well, it could be like that, in a way. That doesn't say that I'm not the coach.
Yeah,
it just says that things might change later.
Yep.
So I guess we'll see. But I am still contracted to Immunity. And I'm kind of looking forward to coaching. I've had some time off basically from when I found out Ustillo was gone. I basically just stopped playing.
Okay.
And that's why I'm sort of open to this coaching thing.
Yep.
And I'm looking forward to seeing where it can go. It's good not playing, 4 hours of CS after work every day. So,
but CGPL's come back, right? Are you saying that if the idea hadn't been brought up, you would have kept playing for CGPL this season for a Team Immunity?
Yeah.
Were you forced out, like Vox, or was it just brought up and you were content with the idea that, you know what?
It was brought up and I was content with the idea, basically.
Okay. Are you happy with the idea so far? Like, you know, I guess it's
No,
kind of in
it's
that
too early.
honeymoon period, right? Like you're
Yeah.
enjoying your free time.
Really enjoying my free time.
Yeah.
Really enjoying my free time. And I've got a bit more perspective now that I'm not playing. Moe is a great choice, and to give Moe the chance to go to Croatia would be pretty good. But with
Is that counterpit we're talking about, or
yeah, counterpit.
Okay.
Counterpit. So the other night, I was watching their game, and the Dust 2 game against Jam, I was in the TS. I just wasn't watching. It just sounded like they just didn't have an answer for whatever Jam were doing as T. It was just a CT thing, and that's going to take time. All these guys are in a new position. Rick wasn't holding mid and stuff like that. So Rick was holding A with the AWP, and Moe was mid, and James was B, and things are going to change in terms of roles. So they'll take some time to get used to those things.
Will they win CGPL?
I hope so.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
But who is the team that will give them the most difficulty? Will it be the new Legacy team?
It would be Legacy. Yeah, it'd be Legacy. I don't see anyone else coming close.
Yeah. Do you think these guys will stay together? Well, they are kind of like thrown together, right? Like it's a.
I think these guys are just like I can't remember what it was called, but there was like a TV show where you throw all the scraps in a bin. Like these guys are the best scraps, and they've come together.
Not like Raggy Dolls. I like Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls. Yeah, it's Raggy Dolls.
Yeah. Okay.
So these are the Raggy Dolls.
Yeah.
So basically, does that make us old?
Yeah.
So this team, let's just wait and see how it goes.
Okay.
Everything is great when you're winning, basically.
I guess the benefit, right, is that we're going to finals, and we're taking a fair few teams to finals. So even if you have an average start, you just need to make LAN, right? And then on LAN, it's an entirely different story.
Or you just need to not make LAN and hope other orgs are shit.
Hope everyone else is bad.
Yeah, like PAX.
Yeah, well, let's talk about PAX. That's something I meant to put on my list. What was PAX? What?
A laptop exhibition.
Yeah. So look, to be fair, I thought it was pretty cool that it was there. Like the alternative was online. I suspect you're gonna come back and say you would have preferred it being online. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Did you lose because the laptops were bad?
No.
Why did you lose?
Made decisions based on the laptops.
Talk me through it. Like what?
So we vetoed Mirage
in
the final because we had a tight game against XL5 on Mirage because of the laptops.
Okay, that's interesting.
And I was like, I don't want to have another game where 4 smokes are down on my screen and I can't kill anything.
Yeah.
So I'll veto it.
Okay.
And that left Train in.
Yeah.
And Train ended up being played, and it was
played, right?
And it was the worst.
Yeah.
The worst map ever for a laptop.
Okay.
And we had only practiced Train a very, very little bit, like very little. We hated Train, and it was like our gimmick thing. We thought we could just beat these guys, Chiefs, with no prac, because of how good we did against Dignitas at Stockholm, and we just choked. Simple as that.
Did you overbuy?
From what everyone says, if you do the maths, yes.
But not intentionally, obviously.
No.
Just the nature of it. To be fair, it does kind of fall back on admins, though.
To be honest, though, like I was sitting there and I was just hating life.
Yeah.
And when all these pauses and server crashes and shit was just going on, I was just sitting there like this. And I didn't help. I didn't do anything with the money, and I just let shit happen.
Okay.
Because I was dead inside. I was going overtime with Chiefs in a LAN final.
So the admins re-added the money, and then you bought what you could buy with the money they gave you.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And we had talked about what we were going to do with the money that we had, and it was like, X drop a gun for you, X drop a gun for you. And when we were talking about it after the shitstorm that came up, we were just like, what we came to was, we saved 2 guns, and 2 people thought they were going to get the 1 gun.
Okay. And that's what it came down to in the end.
That's what it came down to.
Okay. In the end, I guess it didn't make a difference, but even if it had, like, yeah, not an ideal situation.
It didn't make a difference. And that's what.
Do you think it was worth bringing it up? Do you think like having?
I think so. Yeah, I think so because it pointed out that like the whole thing was a mess.
Okay.
Like, the whole thing was just an absolute mess of a tournament, and why there wasn't a match medic or why there wasn't all these things that we've always had. It was just a.
I assume I'm guessing match medic just returns it to a state. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, where you don't have to do anything manually.
Yep.
So it just showed what a mess it was. And it just was too much fuss about shit. Just too much. Should be about just the results.
Yeah.
I reckon.
Well, hopefully this season plays out a little bit differently. I have faith in this season of CGPL.
Yeah.
Partly,
me too.
I think like it's the fact that that Cyanide, I guess, really, and I'll put it back on Cyanide because I know that he's had less sleep and more work than he's had, I think, for like the whole rest of his life in the last 3 months or something, putting this together. There's like 4 games or something. So assuming CSGO doesn't lose out in having 4 games, and I don't imagine it will, because we're doing 2 days, right? CSGO is both days, and I think the other games are sort of like morning of one day and afternoon of another day or something. But I'm hoping that it's going to be really good. And with, I suppose, ACL maybe doing less. I don't know. Like with obviously the guys involved in ESL, it's kind of they're pretty busy. So it's good to see that certainly CG seems to have sort of stepped up and taken back a bit of a role that they used to obviously have.
Yeah. And I think it was just hands in the air back then anyway. So now like they'll learn from those mistakes. Yeah. We made a big deal about it at the time. So that will never happen again. And that's good.
It's good. It's all up from here. I think the option, I suppose, to have a LAN final when the alternative was nothing, and it was presented and it was PAX. I don't know.
The thing is, like, unless you were there.
Yeah.
Did you end up coming down to PAX?
I hosted the esports stage.
You were at Smite, weren't you?
I was Smite, and I was Halo, and I was Rocket League.
You. I'm playing the wrong game. I should be playing Smite. Did you see the stage? And
$100,000 is the prize pool this year for Smite in Australia. $100,000, and go and have a look. Go and have a look right now at the number of teams signed up. It was like less than 20. Right.
What a joke.
So Smite is definitely the game.
Well done.
Yeah, that's it.
You got us. So here I am at this effing PAX stand.
Yeah.
With laptops. It's like, no, that's not how it should be done. And we've always had top of the line PCs, everything for CGPLs.
Yeah.
It would have been better off not doing it, or at least not calling it CGPL, because CGPL has its prestige.
Yeah, it's true. And I guess it was the first time that Richard hadn't run it, at least since I'd known. Look, I don't know what the sort of relationship is with like New Vox and what everyone else thinks, but I've seen like Alicia do a lot of work at LAN. Like I can't fault her for the amount of work she does for things. Like I turn up to like, the first few CGPLs and she's already there setting up, right? She leaves with Richard at late at night. Made a lot. Like I can't fault that. I don't know the end result. Like you're saying the end result was less than ideal, and I think some of the other guys said the same thing. And obviously, if you can't play a map, that's less than ideal, right? If you have to, it's like
we make choices based off that.
Okay.
The thing is, it looked so good on the forums before we left.
Yeah.
Like at PAX, here's our stand, red lights everywhere.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got there, I was like, awesome. I was like, a bit shit that we're like in the middle of everyone and we have to go to public toilets and stuff, but whatever. And then laptops, and I was like, no, if it's not something else, it's something else.
Do they sell actual computers?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But if it's not, the desk space at ACL was bad. We told Nick Vanzetti at ESL that you got to have at least a meter. All this sort of stuff. It might be okay for the Halo guys. They have a Xbox.
Yeah, they've got a controller. Man, setting up a console LAN is just so Oh my god.
So basically, I was like, "Come on, this looks great."
Yeah.
And I messaged. The thing is that shits me off, right? No one said anything about laptops before we got to Sydney.
Yeah.
Or Melbourne, rather. Like,
Yes.
please. I asked in advance, what are the specs for the computers? Where are we getting the computers from? Tell me about the computers. All I got was like these shadowy answers, like someone else is dealing with it. We'll let you know as soon as we find out. Yada yada yada. And then to get there, and I was like, BenQ monitors, awesome. And then folded up behind the BenQ monitor was the laptop. I was just like,
yeah, okay.
Face palm. I hate my life. I want to go home.
I guess,
like,
and the thing is, right, like, even good PCs, like, you still have issues with good PCs. You're trying to get 10 good PCs running 10 copies of a game at the same time, and everyone wants it perfect, and you're talking about a 10%, even 10% failure rate on something is going to cause an issue, right? And that's on a computer in an open case.
Well, PDG was playing half a map against Vox with the battery was unplugged.
Yeah.
And he literally had 60 FPS.
Oh, right, because it would have gone to power saving mode, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was just like, "Oh no, don't worry about it, guys. I'll just keep playing." And
Yeah.
we're just like, literally lost this map for your team.
Yeah. Okay.
And then he plugged in the battery for the next 2 maps, and they won 2-1.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? I mean, I know but the thing is, it's CGPL. Like,
Yeah. We'll see you at LAN as coach.
hopefully, well, it's still up in the air what kind of role I'll have as coach.
Okay. What other kind of role is there as coach if you're not one that's
goes to LAN and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's all up in the air. I don't know the percentage of my involvement right now, whether
Okay.
it's 100% or maybe just 20 or 30 or whatever. Because I did say that I would help out with the organization stuff a bit more. So I'm moving into more like management, immunity type stuff.
Okay.
Like more. I don't want to say more. So in terms of like, yeah, just managing the lineup.
So obviously, if you're not in the team, you may coach you coach, but to what degree we're not sure. But still keen to be involved with the org. So you there is no, like, you love immunity. Is that like, what's your?
Yeah.
Like,
What else
are
is
you
there?
I don't know. Are you like? Some people would go, "Oh, I'm not playing anymore. I'm coaching for a bit, but once I'm off contract, I'm keen to play some more, maybe somewhere else." Or are you like, "I just want to push this all forward," sort of thing?
Yeah. Well, the option was there, so I took it, basically, of helping Tony out some more.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm doing, but we'll see.
Okay. So there's nothing. We'll just let it play out. I guess there's nothing lost at the moment, is there? Like, you just enjoy the time.
Yeah. I mean, this is my first break, as you see from that entire list.
It is actually a pretty long list. I might put the link to it in the video description of like what you linked to me. And you can see it. Like, there's a ton of stuff in there.
So that throughout that whole time, the most I've had off is like 4 weeks.
Yeah. So it's like a job. It is a job, essentially.
It was a job.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was a job because there was like love and passion in there.
Yeah. But even then, when you stop, right, you're like, oh, what do I do now? This is...
Yeah. It's like, oh, shit, I got all this free time.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like the free time.
I got time to do a 2-hour
But
video interview.
Well, that's nothing. Like, it's Sunday night. I got work tomorrow. I wouldn't be doing anything else, really.
Yeah.
Just hanging out with my girlfriend. So who's waiting patiently for me, Ben?
Yeah, mine too. It's,
but basically, I don't know why I played now.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting paid. Everyone else was in Europe, and we were getting compared to them. We beat people from Europe. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
And then we came back to Australia, had a couple of shit results, second place, so terrible. And, just missed out on one international tournament, and then that was it. It's it's that cutthroat, like.
Did you did you care that you weren't? Obviously you want. I assume you would want to go to IEM Taipei, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that we cared. Basically, when we lost Faceit, we were devastated because it came down to one map. Basically, we lost to Legacy on Mirage, and we had just beaten them 16-3 the week before on Mirage.
Yeah.
And that one map meant we had to beat Renegades to go overseas. And Renegades had no pressure on them because they knew they couldn't get through. And then I don't know what I was thinking or how it happened, but we ended up playing on Cache. And
Which Thorin tells me is their best map.
Their best map.
Yeah.
And they think it's their best map as well, which is worse.
Yeah.
Like, you can have good maps that you don't think are your best map. That's different to having a best map that you know and think is your best map.
Yeah, okay.
That adds a whole new level of confidence, right? So then on top of that, like, I think I played tremendously bad that game, and I was doing things that I wouldn't normally do, and I was buying a FAMAS and shit because it was Renegades instead of just buying an MP7. I literally would have been better off with an MP7 some rounds. And when we lost that game, I was like really devastated, but I was also annoyed that we didn't. We let that happen because we let ourselves lose to that Legacy lineup that was actually really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And that I basically got all of the team around like a round table, and I said, for counter-bit, we are going to take this game really seriously, like seriously, like more serious than we've ever taken it before.
Yeah.
And I think we pretty much dispatched everyone in counter-pit reasonably easily.
Okay. So
because we put in the time. Way too soon, IEM Taipei gets announced, and we had like 4 days to prepare.
Yeah.
And all these teams were new lineups, couldn't counter-strat, couldn't watch a demo, just had to crack our own game. We were the only team that stayed alive basically, and so we had all the strats that we used for counter-pit, the counter-pit qualifier, and then we came into the IEM ESL Taipei qualifier, and that day was the worst day ever. The morning of the qualifier, EMAG's net was down because there was storms.
Yeah.
In Sydney, and so he didn't play the whole first day.
Oh, it was like actually really bad storms. Yeah.
It was bad storms. Yeah. So we got Raz, and we versed Alpha Sydney, and
Sydney with Infrequent.
With Infrequent, yeah. And so we won the first half like 11-4. I want to say 11-4. Might have been 12-3. It was bad. We bodied them as T. Went overtime because as CT, they just had the most immaculate timing ever on the A side. They would just walk out Palace and AWP someone, stuff like this.
Yeah.
And went into overtime and we lost. And we're just like, God damn it. If we had EMAG, things would have been fine. Because it was basically our CT defense they were just exploiting Raz at A, Raz and James. And then now it turns out that Infrequent may or may not have been cheating. Can't say for sure.
Do you think he was cheating?
I haven't looked at it.
Okay.
I'm not giving an opinion on it because I want to remain impartial.
Do you think that the way of managing anti-cheat is the appropriate way of managing anti-cheat with an AC panel? And do you think? Yeah. Do you disagree with Wooly in saying that you can look at something and you can ban someone on it?
I disagree with Wooly in the way that he says, look, you can't tell if someone's cheating from a demo. That's ludicrous. You can't tell if someone's cheating from a demo. You can also tell if someone's cheating when they just become amazing or overnight. But the thing is, Infrequent's been on a rise for a while, and I don't know if that's because of cheats or what. And, I feel really bad for Alpha Sydney because 4 other guys on that team definitely don't cheat. There's no question about that at the moment.
Yeah.
And so I feel bad for them. But basically, if Infrequent did cheat, like, he has literally single-handedly changed the outcome of the last 2 months.
Yeah.
So
it sort of butterfly effect all the way back to
all these lineup changes happened because of Infrequent. And so basically what happened was we lost to them. We won our other games, even though we had Raz. I was pretty upset with XL5 making us play that night after ESL said we could reschedule.
Ah, right. Yes. I remember seeing this on Twitter. You weren't happy.
I think that's a shit move. Like, if something's ever gone like that for me and the other team says, can we reschedule? And it's not like the end of the effing world, I would just reschedule it because I would want to verse a team with their best lineup. And they were like, we're using stand-ins, so you can use stand-ins. And I'm like, yeah, well, you're using stand-ins because your guy's vacked. That's hardly the same.
Yeah.
But they didn't understand. They wanted the cheap win, and they didn't get it. So we beat them, and then we beat Vox, or they beat Vox. I can't remember, but basically there was some winning. And then there was the next day, we come up against Legacy, the new Legacy team, which had Death Dog and Top Gun and was meant to be favorites.
Yeah.
And we dispatched them so easily, it was hardly a warm-up. And then the next game we had was against Chiefs, and it was like struggle down from the outset, and I don't know why.
Was that lineup a good lineup? The one that they beat
The
you
Legacy
with?
one?
The Chiefs one.
What was it? It was
Lightstep, Chris O'Well. You had Burn?
Zeusy, Burn, and Dexter?
Yeah. That would make sense to me.
I guess no, was Zeusy there? I don't know, but I guess they did pretty good to beat us.
They did. Do you think, like, for example, Lightstep's better off where he is now than if that team had stayed together?
Don't know. That's questionable. I don't think this is much of an upgrade. I think it's just a fancier lineup. Like, it's just an all-star lineup.
Yeah. And it is. That is essentially what it is, isn't it? It's the...
Yeah, but I don't think they necessarily work all the time.
Okay.
And I thought he was on a winner with Burn and Dexter, like up and coming. No one knows how they play.
Yeah.
Like, Burn's really random. I think you saw that when they versed Mongols. Like, he was just doing stupid stuff, but it was working. And things like that can unsettle a team. And he unsettled us. Banana, I think he was pretty much the guy that won them the tournament. He killed Ricky a couple of times on Inferno, and that was it. That was the end of the game.
Yep.
So yeah, I thought that lineup could have gone places, but maybe not long term. I don't know. It depends. Like, Chiefs can beat us. Anyone can beat us. It's just all we do is we learn from when we lose and do better next time.
Yeah.
And it's easier to come back from a loss than it is to just keep on winning. Like, it's so hard just to win, and never lose.
It's hard to win, and never lose. What do you mean by that?
It's so much harder to win and keep winning when everyone's trying to beat you, just you. Then that people don't understand. You've got to stay on top of all these other teams.
Yeah, and they have to strap for you, right?
They just have to strap for you.
Yeah.
And what pisses me off, like, I saw this all last year, was when you would verse a team, you would struggle. Like, we would have 16-13, 16-12 with people. And then when you saw the other two teams versus each other, they were just like lost spaghetti. Like, no one knew what they were doing. And it was just like so frustrating. You would get two different teams, one that versus us and one that versus someone else.
Yeah.
And so basically the demos we watched were just our games. We just watched our games versus other people to see what they were doing. Because watching them against other people was a waste of time.
How to outstrat their counter-strats, essentially. That's all you
basically. That's basically what it was. So we would watch a game of like Chiefs versus us, and afterwards we'd be like, wow, that's what they were doing? That's stupid. Like, well, how did that win? And then we'd verse them the next time on that map. For example, Cache. They beat us on Cache once. I don't think they've ever beaten us on Cache since. Like, we just figured out what they were doing. And, things like that will trip us up. And we just need to be able to learn from it and come back.
Yeah.
But the only problem with that is if you get tripped up from a brand new lineup in a grand final, you miss out on the international trip.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it's so much harder when there's all these new lineups. You're staying the same, and these new lineups come together knowing how you play. It's like a trick pick me up. Like, we have to be so much better to win that tournament. And I don't think we were particularly playing well that game.
Do you think that they were on par with you in general, like that Chiefs lineup that beat you?
No.
Okay.
No way. We just didn't know how they played, and they screwed us.
Right.
And there was also like the first tournament with the new round time as well.
Yes.
And so all these things add up to just not working in our favor. And that's the result just comes from that. We played bad, new strategies to Steve because of the new time, and we were stale, I reckon. And, Rick got taken advantage of a lot of times on Inferno. And, I mean, that's the map that we lost, basically, that caused the trip to go to Chiefs.
Yeah.
So looking back on Inferno, it's like, well, basically, our T half was fine. Yeah, we've, whiffed a few rounds, but it was a respectable half. And it was just our CT because we just didn't know how to play the round timer now.
I guess something that seems to be close to your heart, and I think we'll try and sort of make this like the last kind of topic, though it is very broad, is the Australian scene, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I guess you have a lot to say. I saw you tweet something like, "You got to admire what LG Fallen has done with the spotlight, shining it on his countrymen instead of disowning them. Brazil rise while Australia falls."
Yeah,
What
pretty much.
are you saying there? Essentially, that he's obviously he's got up there and essentially used it to better his scene, or
I don't know how he's done it, but essentially he was in MRBR and things like that back in the day in 1.6, and he said we can be the best team in the world.
Yep.
They're not yet, but he believes it. And he said to all of the teams in his country, Brazil, and said, like, we should band together and become the best team. And so he's made his own little team of dudes, and then he's made CG. He's basically done like a Richard Lewis.
Yeah, okay.
Richard Lewis, Talnoy.
Yep.
Richard Laws. He's basically done a Richard Laws and gone, let's make a scene. And he's made this thing called Games Academy, or he's been affiliated with it to some degree, where he's basically helped other teams come up to his level. And now that he's basically got a pick and choice of 10 players, and he makes Luminosity from those 10. And I feel like he could probably just swap anyone from Game Academy if he wanted, or now Tempo Storm, so he probably can't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was going to say. So is he benefiting the region, or is he benefiting himself by like raising it up and then grabbing the best players though? But is that do you see that that's what you should be doing, or?
No, I think all I can admire is that basically he's never gone like Luminosity is the only team in Brazil. And when he got Luminosity, and he was always talking about like the number 2 team in his region, and he's like, we need to give the number 2 team a chance, get the number 2 team over here, yada yada yada. Like I was trying to do when I was saying Australia needs 2 spots, because Renegades are really good, but we're really good also, and it's like a waste of our life, like our talent, if you only give us one spot because you think there's only Renegades.
Yeah.
When North America all this time was getting 4 slots to a major,
and they weren't playing particularly well, were they?
Because they're just like North American, so it's okay. But then we're sitting here going, well, we could beat them. Why don't we even get a chance?
Yeah.
It's like coming second here shouldn't be the be all and end all, because coming second here could be coming 4th in America.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess there's a lot more ways to get over there now, and I guess it's been good. Do you think it's been good for the scene for Vox now Renegades to leave?
For our scene?
Yes.
I'm not sure, because it's good that they're versing the scrub teams in America to show how bad they are.
Yeah.
But that's only just started happening, and they've been over there like almost a year now.
It obviously gives someone else another spot to rise. Yeah, that's like they're qualifying. Theoretically, what did you think of them getting that spot at IEM? Did
Catalyst?
Sorry, at Taipei, right? They're in Taipei. Were they?
I was pissed about that.
Yeah, it seems. Do you think of Renegades as an Australian team? Like they're Australians, but they're yes.
Yeah, ultimately they're an Australian team. The only thing I don't understand is why they get to qualify for counterpit over in North America.
Yep.
They should have had to qualify here. But then again, they didn't, so that's probably why we won.
Yep.
Or helped us win.
It certainly didn't hurt, right?
It didn't hurt, yeah. And then I see they were in the MLG qualifier. That's because they qualified somehow. Can't remember. No, there's something that they're in that's basically just because they're in North America. And I was like, that's messed up. Like, why is there... I can't say anything without knowing the facts. But basically, it's good that they're over there beating the shit teams and showing that our number 1 team, supposedly, is capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Like, when they won that LAN, or when they came second at that LAN with Cloud9, admittedly, that's shit. Like, they could have won that if it wasn't at 3 a.m. or something. But that shows that they could get up there and beat Luminosity and teams like that, even if it was just a once-off. And they had Havok then as well, when everyone's saying their shit. So what does that say about us? They come home and we beat them all the time. And they beat us. Like, I'm not saying it's just
are they scrimming? when RNG
No,
comes, they
no,
don't.
I didn't lie. They don't scrim.
Okay.
So basically, we beat them at Crown 2-0. Okay, and then they get invited to IEM Taipei. That was the last time we versed them.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's just flat out bullshit. They get invited just because they have a higher ESL ranking, and that Crown thing was ESL event, but it wasn't ranked because there wasn't enough international teams there.
Yeah.
It's just bullshit. Like, things just going.
But you did beat Cloud9, right?
And we beat Cloud9, and it wasn't ranked.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't enough teams there. So Cloud9 gets away with that pretty much. And Virtus Pro get like 35 grand that no one cares about.
Yeah, well, it's,
like, oh man. So I was pissed off at that. I was like, it's not fair that they get invited, and I didn't understand why they were invited, because we beat them, and we beat them a lot, and it's not like they always win. But it's just because they get points from these other events that they go to because they're over there.
They're already there. They already get the opportunity to play.
They got points for an exhibition tournament that they came third at.
Yeah, okay. So it's less than ideal. They
didn't even have to beat anyone. The other teams all just got knocked out.
I guess it's fine if you're not inviting them as an OC team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're living there, and they've got these the same opportunities that everyone else does.
Anyway, so that pissed me off, and then we didn't qualify, so I had to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, okay. Do you think that people are being unreasonable, unfair with Renegades? Like, they're getting pretty harsh criticism now. Like, they came over, right, and I'm trying to think of it like a good analogy, right? They were sort of like the underdogs traditionally, and it was fun to have the Australians overseas, right? Spunj is a fun guy. Like, I personally like all the guys that I've met in Renegades. And like, you know, they boot camped at Guff, and they've always been really nice. Like, I haven't been in the scene all that long. I'm really not in the scene at all. I just partake, you know, and try and get involved where I can. But they've always made the effort. Yeah. Good webcam. Always made the effort to be nice to me and stuff, and I always really appreciated that. So it's hard. You see, like, them given this hard time, and I always enjoyed seeing them overseas. You know, being the Aussies having a bit of fun, Spunj with his flag, you know, Havok with his beard.
It was never about fun, was it? I mean, when they got over there, it was meant to be about results, but it kept being about fun.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what pissed people off, especially with the Renegades marketing team doing all these videos and stuff. Like, the videos are great and everything, as long as there's some results backing it up. Like, luckily, no one ever found out how much Renegades were getting paid or whatever, so they couldn't say they are the highest paid team in America or anything like that. Like, they are, like they do with Liquid, where Liquid's the number one paid team in America, and they're just shit all the time.
Yeah.
Luckily, they're good now, but that's what people would say. They're saying, why are these guys the number one paid team in America? And you're always going to get questions being asked when you don't perform, and I think the video, actually, I didn't realize they were that bad until I watched the video, and this guy was going on about the stats that they have.
Yeah,
it was really bad stats, and he wasn't making them up. It's just that's the stats, and you can't really argue with those stats. They were pretty confronting, and I actually didn't realize that the stats were that bad. But the thing is, I've always known that they could actually be good. They could actually beat these teams. Same as we can. We can beat all those teams over there. It's just we don't. We always get to that last hurdle and fail. And it's just annoying that they've got the opportunity to do so well and they're not doing so well when they can.
Yeah.
And
have they had enough time? Do you think, like Thorin says, you know, they've been back and forth, but have they really sort of made the effort?
This new lineup change should do the deal.
Okay.
But, like, bringing Yam in was actually a detriment to, like, their teamwork, and you could just see it all the time, and it was really frustrating to watch. Because when you verse these pro teams, they literally dismantle you.
Yeah.
And you just see it time and time again, and it was, like, getting frustrating to watch. And when Luke got replaced by Ustillo, and I've seen a few games, and I was like, yeah, this should work. Like, I know how Ustillo plays, and he should fill the gap that they had, and it should allow Yam to play as good as Yam can, because I always felt that Yam was on a leash because of, like, whatever was happening with him and Hap.
Have you seen their results from the weekend? How did they go? They beat
I watched them
Dignitas,
versus
yeah?
Dignitas. Yeah, I
Yep.
wanted to see how they'd go against Dignitas because I have a lot of respect for MSL.
Okay.
And they beat Dignitas pretty easily, but I think something that I don't want to take the win away from them, but like I didn't even know Config was in the game until the second half, and I was like, oh, that's right, Config's in Dignitas now. It was that bad. He literally didn't turn up at all. So
Yeah, okay.
they were lucky that it was a BO1 and it was Inferno, one of their best maps.
They do seem to like Inferno, don't they?
I reckon they're really good on Inferno.
Yeah.
Especially with Usilo now, that should be it. That should be like
What is his? He just likes it. What does he do well?
He's just a really good anchor for the A site, and Havok wasn't doing A site properly before when he was in the team. From what I could see, I just didn't think he had the right. I think Luke should have been playing B or jungle or something like that. But anyway, so Usilo just, you get those guys like Top Gun. When Top Gun was in that team, he was like the balcony guy.
Okay.
And you couldn't move him off it, and he was the best. He was like just a turret in pit. So Usilo is one of these guys just for that side of the A site, and I think that'll benefit them a lot. And then also their T half was just pretty good. They had similar setup to what we have with Yam and Usilo working together on their way up mid and getting control of that middle wall. They did one of the strats that we do where they smoke off all the diggity side and plant in the smoke. It worked really well. So yeah, the game was actually a really good game from Renegades. Everything just seemed to go in their favor. They even won an eco. They won a Tech 9 eco. Usilo got a headshot through a smoke.
Yeah.
And it pretty much won the round for them. So I think they got really lucky. And they took all their chances and that's why they won. But I don't think they would necessarily win a BO3.
Okay.
And you saw Dignitas actually lost to Cloud9, I think.
Did they really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is like one of the worst Cloud9 lineups I've ever seen. And afterwards, Config smashed his mouse, so he might not be cheating anymore.
Let's finish this up with what you think. Okay. So SnypeR's in charge of the Australian Counter-Strike scene. A special advisor to the head of Counter-Strike in Australia, and you're going to put
a budget.
Yeah, sure, $0.
Okay, and that's fine.
It's Counter-Strike.
Yeah, it's tough life.
Yeah, exactly.
$1 million prize
What are you doing this year, or what has to happen this year to improve the scene?
So this year, to improve the scene, I think something needs to happen on a sponsorship level, where someone points out to these guys that they've got teams here that are vying for international appearances in front of crowds with $1 million prize pool, and the loser gets $9,000. And something needs to happen where the sponsors or the orgs are asking or pushing or whatever it takes to get some money, because I'm sure there's some sponsors out there that are giving money. And that money needs to be spent better. And it just needs to be spent on getting players away from their jobs.
Yeah.
And a practice house is great. If every org in Australia had a practice house, like Immunity, Legacy, Chiefs, if those three teams had prac houses and they just pracked each other all the time, it's highly possible. Because what would be different in the scenario where you have a practice house is your job is playing CS. You can't avoid the people you're with. And you just play for the one goal of being the best and developing. And you'll never be able to fully be the best for like a long period of time in that environment. You'll just simply have to use your funds better to say, okay, let's practice. And when there's a tournament up, you guys prove it against each other who's the best. And when you are the best for that period of time, or even if you're like the second best or third best, like those three teams could probably be 1, 2, 3 at every event this year in a different order. That could probably happen.
Okay.
So those three teams then shouldn't think we're the third best in Australia, we're crap. They should think we're the third best in Australia. We could probably be top 10 in America.
Yeah.
And so let's go to America for a tournament, or the organization should be going, okay, sending my emails out to all these orgs, please accept my team into your next league. Please accept my team into your next tournament. And they'll get a chance because it will be like, the tournament will be like, wow, we're now a global tournament. And they'll get in.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't shit the bed and come dead last, that will be really good for you because you get a trip overseas, you get an international experience, and you make Australia look good. You just have to come top 10.
Yeah, okay.
At a crappy LAN. Like that red dot thing that Legacy was in. Awesome.
What about that BYOPC LAN that you guys went to?
No, that was worse.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do BYOC. And basically, the problem with that BYOC was like, we were on laptops, my favorite.
Yeah, okay.
Everyone else was on their LDLC sponsored PCs.
Yeah.
Like LDLC sponsored like 40 computers for the LAN, and all these top French teams were on these PCs, and we were on gigabyte laptops that were actually really good, but they couldn't do native screen resolution and stuff like that for Carlo.
Okay, yeah.
And so there was just a few little things where they didn't meet up to scratch. And we were on these monitors that I've never heard of, Yahumi, whatever, something like that.
Yeah, they're called Zowie now. No, I'm joking.
Maybe. And, we just basically, we played the best teams in France,
Yep.
which even Envious and Titan don't have to do anymore. And we lost one map that we were up ahead 11-4 as T on Inferno, and we lost the next half 12-3 because we won the pistol round, and then we got ecoed by a Tech 9 rush because Tech 9s are fabulous.
They are pretty good.
And then we just couldn't get back in the game. We forced bought, we were retarded. Really stupid by us. And that literally tilted us for the rest of the tournament. And then we played Mirage next because we went, our game went so long and there was so many shit delays. Like, I don't know what happened, but there was a lot of delays. And one half of the bracket finished before us, and the team that we were going to verse next was behind us because we're like Immunity and Internationals, and the other team was a French team that they already knew about.
Yep.
And we just scraped across the line against this top French team, which was like the top 4th French team, and then we had to verse I can't remember if it was Begenius. I think it was Begenius or Melty or something, which is like the 3rd best French team. And they had just watched our Mirage game. And the veto came down to a choice between Mirage and something else. And I looked at the guys and I was like, it's our best map.
Yeah.
It was between Inferno and Mirage because I think they saw both games. And our map pool was pretty shit back then. Because we were a new team, like we'd just done Faceit, we'd Gfinity, all this stuff. We were wrecked, and we just lost. Like, it was close. We won a heap of awesome clutch rounds and everything like that, but we lost, and that's all it takes to lose a tournament is 2 losses of BO1.
Yeah,
and we were out. But yeah.
So don't do that, yeah?
It was a great experience. No, I'll do that.
That's it. I guess that is a good point, right? A lot of it is experience. It's hard, though, when that experience costs money, right? And like, it's someone's money somewhere. And so often, so many, like, in my limited experiences, right, as a player manager, so often players just have no concept of the money that teams or orgs work with. It's like, it's like when you're a kid and your parents just have money, right? Like, why can't I have this? And you don't understand that maybe, you're only just paying the bills that week, and that freaking transformer that you want, and that's it. That's my petrol. Yeah. And so often I think players just don't have any comprehension of the budgeting that teams go through.
But I think that was actually a really awesome experience. Like, I think people should do it. Yeah. They just shouldn't do it the way we did it with laptops and so on.
Yeah, don't do that.
And obviously, like I said before, be the number 1 team in your region, or number 2 or number 3, and have a good tournament before that.
Yeah.
And then go straight over while you're in form, while you've got that map pool, while you've got the current meta nailed or whatever. And then do a boot camp before the tournament and learn how the Europeans can just smash you by running into your bomb site. And then play a tournament. And I mean, if we had played a tournament before the BYOC, if we had played like a proper long tournament with a good boot camp, we would have won that BYOC.
Yeah.
Like they're good teams. Like LDLC Blue and LDLC White are definitely on our level. But like I said, even Envious and Titan don't have to qualify in France. They don't have to play their local French teams. Because I guarantee you, if they did, they'd probably drop a map here or there.
Yeah,
They're that good.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
And so for us to lose over there, people are like, oh, lol, 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 lol. Like the trolls are just like, oh, you lost to the fourth best French team, Div 2, whatever, Div 2000.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you don't understand. Like these top players in France have France has probably got one of the best scenes as well. Like LDLC White has 2 coaches.
I think people underestimate, and essentially even like Brazil, right? We're talking about Fallen before. Like Brazil's got hundreds of millions of people.
Yeah, they got a huge scene, way bigger than ours.
It's massive. I remember Yug was like tweeting out a while ago, oh, is PAX the biggest? Do you reckon PAX is the biggest like gaming sort of thing? Like Brazil's in the southern hemisphere he's talking about. Like to be fair, there's not but Brazil's in our hemisphere, right? And it's like massive
CS
stuff.
is a real big deal over there.
Yeah.
It always has been, even since MIBR made them famous. Like, and they're really passionate bastards.
Yeah, well, I think they're definitely on the up and up. Like for everything across the board, Brazil and just South America in general is they're catching up, and the more tournaments and the more big sponsors and more opportunities. So I guess what you're saying essentially is try and create opportunities for yourself and improve in that way. Like go overseas.
Well, if you're an org, I guess you just have to reward your team's hard work. Since you're not paying them, you just need to give them something. So if they do good at a tournament, you should be saying, okay, well, I've got a tournament overseas that I'm going to hook you up with.
Yeah.
And just get them in a tournament. Because what we don't have right now, apart from Renegades, and even Renegades, they're only in like the odd tournament here or there. What we don't have is like a litter of teams around the world. Like it'd be so good just to have like 3 Aussie teams that are all abroad at once. And they're just at different tournaments.
No, it's good.
You know what I mean? And then we might actually get a budget like the North Americans have, because the North Americans are gifted these teams into tournaments. So even their Div 5 team is getting a budget.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the problem is right now is we don't have budgets in Australia because people don't know we exist.
It is very hard, and there is not much money. Honestly, I think
it's really nothing.
2016 will be different. It's certainly, I feel like it's almost exponential growth, but we're still in that little bit before it starts really taking off. And I think it's I've said to a few people that really, if you want to be involved, there's still plenty of opportunity to be involved. Not even just as a player, just in orgs. If you want to be involved in esports, now is the time to get in. At essentially, it's not necessarily, it's not the ground level, but you know what I mean. The people, everyone else is only like 1 floor above you at the moment, though. It's like. And
I think this year, if you're an org or if you're thinking of making an org or doing something like that, this is definitely the year to pull up your trousers, because even if you're crap this year, next year is going to be twice as big. Oh, actually, you can't say how big it is because it's going to be that big. This Turner thing is literally going to explode esports.
Crown, like when you've got organizations like Crown, right, looking at this sort of stuff, they're all in for the same sort of thing. It's a great demographic that they all want to approach. It's a way of getting you involved with their business that they may not have been able to find ways to do it before. And the term gamer, even you have a look, and it's the amount of the people who consider themselves gamers or people who game. It's like 68% of people game, and it was like almost 50-50 guys and girls, right? And you look at those stats, and I had a look at the numbers, and it was surprisingly high. Like the actual number of people who are playing like 8 hours of games a week, which is like, that's a fair bit of gaming. Like I like to game, but I work full time. I do like my casting related things, and I might get 8 hours of gaming in a week at the moment in my life.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely the time. Is there anything else you'd add before we? Is that it? Is that your thing?
That's my thing.
Okay.
Just wish orgs would button up and get some work done.
Man, it's hard being an org. It's hard. It is hard, man. It is.
You sound biased.
It is. It's hard being an org. I think you work, and your players get a lot of the glory, and they it's not even that. It's just that sometimes I think it feels like they don't appreciate the work that goes into it behind the scenes.
Well, they probably don't know.
They don't know.
Probably
Yeah.
don't let them know.
Well, I don't know. It's hard, especially. Look,
I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy, but like you said, if it was an ideal thing,
Yep.
and you said you had no budget, I'd say push, 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 and point out that when you're doing your profit and loss statements or whatever to your sponsors, if you point out that you get, X amount of prize money, they won't care because the prize money goes to your players.
Yeah.
But if you point out that there's signing bonuses for some tournaments and all this sort of stuff overseas, then
yeah, okay.
There's money to be made somewhere, but it's not. They don't want you to make money, do they? They want to make money for themselves. So
yeah, but if you're successful, it puts their dollar further, right? Like if the team
use Alpha Draft as an example.
Sure.
Like, what do they get from Renegades playing well?
More exposure for
just
Alpha
exposure,
Draft.
isn't
Yeah, it is exposure.
What's Alpha Draft? Well, Alpha Draft's gambling.
Yeah.
So gambling is just straight up hashtag Skrilla. So they're on easy street.
Yeah.
Well, until it gets banned. But then you've got things like Sportsbet, Bet365, like CrownBet, all these things. The only reason they ever got into CS, and the only reason Crown ever got into CS, as far as I know, is for betting and gambling. And so you could bet on the games.
I saw a stat that was legitimately like the percentage of population in normal life who bet on sport was like 3% or something, like under 5%. And the percent of people who follow esports who bet on esport is like over a third. And obviously things like skin sites and whatnot make that very, very easy. But it's already there with that demographic, isn't it? It's already a thing.
Well, I used to love the HLTV thing. HLTV used to give you like 25,000 credits of pretend money.
Yeah.
And you would fantasy your dream team in 1.6. And if you won that, if you came like top 3, you got like a SteelSeries mousepad.
Yeah, okay. It's good.
I didn't do it for the mousepad.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to
You're
see if I
already sponsored by SteelSeries. Yeah, exactly.
If I could do like pretend awesome rich things.
Yeah.
And it turns out I couldn't.
No. So I just... before we finish this, right?
Yeah,
which is your... Yeah, it's legitimately... I asked you for an hour. We've been here for a bit, but I appreciate it, and I hope everyone else appreciates it.
Hope you get something good out of this. You can just cut together.
Well, man, I'm tempted just to upload it all and have the hate come through about how long it is, but I think it's
there'll be hate anyway, dude. You got me in the show.
Nah, I think it's great. I genuinely appreciate it, because for me personally, this is obviously like personal development. I want to, improve a bit in my interviewing and just things like that. But I still think it's like quite a interesting point in your career as well, and a good moment to, I suppose, get some of this down. I don't know. It's hard to get your thoughts out and stuff like Twitter, for example, right? Like it's.
No, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah. we can clear it up a little bit, maybe. Which is your favorite version of Counter-Strike?
That's tough. CSGO could have been there.
Yeah. Could have been, but
towards the end of Source, the very last patch that came out made the game pretty awesome.
Yeah, okay. So Source. CSGO could get there, right? Maybe. Need more skins.
Too many bugs.
Yeah.
Too many things, like bullshit things. Like the game is just so broken and imbalanced in so many ways, and you don't really realize it until you go overseas and see that. When we went overseas, things we learned, right? So things we learned were people crouch, like NIP were the best at this crouch bug thing, where you basically crouch behind a corner and only show your left arm, and you can't see their head.
Okay.
But on your screen, they can see all of you.
Yeah, okay.
And so we learned that overseas.
That's good. It's why you want to go overseas, right?
It's a bug. It's a bug. That should not exist, but it does. And I don't think there's much you can do about it, but I think they're trying. And then the next thing was like... there was the jumping peaks. So when you jump around a corner, if you land just before you come around the corner, so you're not really jumping around the corner, you're basically jumping towards a corner. If you come around the corner after that, then you literally don't have a headshot hitbox for like a second.
Yeah,
so
okay.
So the guy who's waiting for you is aiming at head height because obviously he wants to get a headshot. So you come around the corner at running jumping speed, and your head is like halfway between your chest and your balls, And of course you win the battle because the other guy just shot thin air.
Yep.
But on his screen, your head is right there.
Yeah.
And stuff
Okay.
like that.
That's less than ideal. So
No,
there's
it's
too
less
many
than
bugs.
ideal.
It's Source. That's your
then-
dream.
Yeah, and then they release a patch that gives us fancy gloves.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I like that. I don't know. We'll see.
That pissed me off because the game is really broken. Like there was a bomb. You'd play Cache and there would be a bomb that floated in the middle of the map.
Yeah.
And they brought out new gloves.
At least you can, like, when you look at your knife now, and you can, it's just that little bit nicer. I hope we'll get there. Like, I hope, like,
The
it's
Bowie
hard.
knife.
Valve doesn't feel like they communicate well with what's going on with their games. I think
there's something going on in the background
Yeah.
that they're not telling us about.
Yeah.
That's causing them to be so late with what they do.
yeah,
And I hope there's something going on in the background. But yeah, things are just so broken. And they ask the pros at every tournament, they say, what do we need to do?
yeah,
And we always come back and we say, make the pistols less overpowered, make Deagle less strong over distance.
improve
make
the
it
Tech
so-
9, things
Yeah,
like that.
buff the Tech 9
Yeah.
mid-air, shit like that.
Yeah.
And they just go away and they do nothing.
I guess we can only see.
They got half the team that Dota 2 has. You open up Dota 2 and your monitor just becomes like this shrine of like ethereal bloody glorious beauty. It's like
Oh,
the menu
legitimately.
is just
If they had, I love their ticket system. How you can buy tickets to watch tournaments, right?
yeah.
And then
I love that.
the organizers get part of that money. Like
Mhm.
that would be insanely good for competition. CGPL run like that. Like,
Yep.
oh wow, you got to pay $1 to watch CGPL. You know what? It's probably worth it, to be perfectly
Yep.
honest.
Yep.
For your scene. So yeah, like we can only
And
dream,
then-
right?
But you open up CS, and if just next time you open up CS, just look at that menu and just think, some guy just got out of school and made this, and then you go to Dota 2, and it's like, oh.
I want to turn that into a GIF. Ian, Coach Turner, I suppose we should call you.
I have a great camera.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's we'll get there. It's been back and forth all time.
I'm sorry, man. Just
There
cut
we
it
are.
out.
There we are. We are. Wow, it's like you're
Oh.
covering your face. There we go. Coach
I do.
Turner, thank you very much for giving up a lot of time. I genuinely appreciate it, and I hope that everyone else does too, and get a little bit of insight out of this perhaps. And